Dear colleagues, maybe if you have any questions now, we can use this time for answering. And again, I would ask you to speak not very fast to make my understanding easier and clearer. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi,
Nalini.
ma'am. This is Nalini.
Hello.
Hello. Hi. It was a great eye opener, this topic, because there were so many cases we are dealing. I'm a psychologist and also a psychotherapist. I see two cases. One is 42 years old adult, okay, who still feels someone should take care of him, even though he is in a very good salary. He is earning, but still he feels whenever he is sick, someone should take care of him. One case. And another, there is a teenager, 13 years old. She's a girl. She was being overprotective when she was very young. She was very, very overprotective by parents. And now she's having good social skills, like, she's not having any friends. She always wants to be dependent on the parents only. That is causing little, conflict between now and the parents and the child. These are the two cases. I find there is a learned helplessness.
Looks like that, yes.
What could be, what could be the intervention, madam? What could be the intervention?
If I could not any advice, but my my position on this situation, I would ask maybe what could happen if the separation will occur. So what is the main fear in new relations for this young girl, for this teenager, and what are the disadvantages of of the active position of a young man who can care of himself, but he thinks that he is not effective in self-support. So I would make it. I would advise him to organize a kind of a diary and write there the cases of his personal effectiveness. So I can care of myself. Here, this is the evidence. I was very good in wearing my shoes today. So I was very good in cooking breakfast for me. I was very good in my professional effectiveness. So it could be just the evidences of his separation, of his skills of caring about himself. And as for the teenage girl, I would search the traumatic experience. Maybe her parents frightened her that the world is not safe and people can hurt you. And she taught this idea, and that is why she is afraid of trying to make connections and relations with this person and this person. We all are adult people, and during our development, during growing up, we all had a traumatic experience. We suffered from different fiascos, but experience is something which is the most important for human life. Not only success, but our failures, but our traumas, which we overcame and become stronger and more effective and more free in our life. And this lack of freedom is a lack of development.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Thank
you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
I had a question for you. First of all, thank you for the lovely session we had this morning. Ma'am, my question is slightly philosophical. When I think of learned helplessness, the term learned brings like there is a lightning in my mind when I think of it while during your presentation, that could learned helplessness, if it's learned, is it different, or can it be inherited? Like, can as a trait learned helplessness can it be inherited, and if it can be, or if it cannot be, how is it different from learned helplessness? From what I've understood from learned helplessness is that it is it gradually learned through environment, or is it, it could be inherited too? And
Mhm.
if it cannot be or so, does it lack genuinity, or it could be genuine, is my question. Slightly philosophical in terms, but yeah, I wanted to know.
Thank you so much for your question. Frankly speaking, I never thought about learned helplessness in this way, but thank you, because now I have answer for you, because it is not um, inherited in biological way, yes, but it can be inherited and taught when children copy the behavior and attitude to life from their parents. For example, if our parents tell us that the world is very dangerous, people are rude, and there are no kind people, we will learn it and we will trust this life position. So this kind of inheritance. So
Mhm.
sometimes our parents teach us, so do not take candies from strangers. So they try to defend us from violence. Yes, for example, sometimes from sexual violence, from any rude actions from the world, from world of adult people. But if we can hear it every day, do not trust the world, do not trust people, so we can be adult and we will still be afraid to take candy, for example, from our colleagues, because
Yes.
we will be looking for violence. So, and there will be very tight connection. So when people demonstrate optimistic attitude to me, if they give something to me, violence is obviously the consequence.
Mhm.
So this is a kind of behavioral inheritance. And usually it comes from family. When parents are optimistic, if they trust the world, if they trust their child, if they believe that their child is very wise and good and very strong,
Mhm.
and usually wise parents think that their children are better than they are, so there is no base for learned helplessness state.
Okay. Ma'am, so could we say that it's the result of environmental influences more than biological inheritance?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
So you're welcome. And I told that somatic disease, even somatic disease and somatic restrictions, is not the core mechanism for learned helplessness development. We know a lot of examples when people who are bodily injured, who have physical traumas, they are very effective in their life development. For example, Paralympic sportsmen, so they are injured, they are invalids, but they are very effective in their life and they are not helpless.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Can
Yes,
I ask my question, ma'am?
yes.
Yeah, I was asking you like over pampering of children by the parents, can it lead to learned helplessness? And the children, can they become clingy and not
Mhm.
able to adjust out in the outer environment and wherever they go outside?
Okay. Thank you for your question. Sometimes parents think that love is equal to pumping, but we know that it is not the same. And we cannot overfeed our kids with love, but we can poison them with our pumping activity. So when parents think that they can do a lot of things and all things of their life instead of their children, so they frustrate their children, and it leads to learned helplessness state. For example, I can feed you, I can tie the shoes for you, I can earn money for you, I can find job for you, I can find wife for you, I will bring up your children for you. So I live your life for you because you cannot do it. You're not very good to live your life. You are helpless. So sometimes there is no need to speak it aloud. You are helpless. You can just demonstrate the behavior which can make feel people helpless. And pumping kids is a very direct way to learn helplessness.
Yes. Over interference of parents in children's life.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, ma'am.
I have a question. That was a nice presentation.
Thank you.
My question is there any relationship between personality and learned helplessness?
Between what? Repeat, please.
Personality of a person. Personality.
Maybe could you write it?
She asked personality of a person, ma'am. She asked.
Olivia,
So,
personality.
Personality. The personality and helplessness. Okay. Now I understand. Yes. Sometimes in our life we can feel helpless when, for example, we are frustrated with difficulties and failures. But when a person suffers from this state quite very long period, it becomes a part of personality, and then we can say that personality changes and obtains toxic structure. So all the parts of personality and personality development is under the influence of learned helplessness idea. So I cannot put big aims. I don't believe that I can achieve any success in my life. And this is the kind of my life living, kind of life organizing. And if we can overcome learned helplessness state quite easily and fast, when we speak about personality state as helplessness, it is a very long systematic psychotherapeutic work. And usually it concerns changing the social environment and social support and psychological childish traumas and so on.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you for your question.
Madam,
Can I ask?
hi, madam.
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Hi.
Suresh, sir, can I?
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
A very nice presentation, which is the need of the hour for the present society, the learned helplessness. Because I felt I want to answer some of the questions also to add to your answer. In countries like India or any developing countries, the parental or the socio-economic status of the parents, I think, is influencing the learned helplessness. I hope. What is your view, ma'am? One question is that, and I want to ask the next question. The other participants has also asked. Over pampering is found in the home, like having a middle income or the upper middle income groups here in India. That is also another influencing factor for this learned helplessness. Second question is this. So what do you think about this, and what is the global scenario actually?
Mhm. So when we are speaking about the way of organizing their family relations and parental attitude to their children, we should think of emotional states of parents. So why do they pump their children? What is the main reason? Sometimes the reason for pumping is very deep state of vain or shame before their children. So I feel vain because I cannot make for my children this and that. For example, I have not very strong social or material position, for example, yes? Or I cannot be in very tight emotional connection with my children. So what is the reason for pampering? And the first question was about, so I didn't quite understood.
It is like a socio-economic situation of the family, like lower income, middle income, or the upper
Mhm.
income, upper kind
Yes,
level of family, whether it influences this learned helplessness among the children.
yes. I said we can again go back to the state of vain, to the state of shame, which can influence the desire to pump children from the side of parents. If I cannot give enough economical and material support to my children, I will do something which can bring joy to their life. But this joy is it's a false joy. So looking at children who overcome difficulties, who are frustrated and depressed sometimes when they feel value, is more important than to pump. I think it is connected with social and economical position of family. I can give you something, even pumping, when I can't give you, for example, good home or enough money.
So you mean that not giving that kind of a good environment, like as a good home or a nice education, a quality education, will influence the learned helplessness. You meant that.
So not lack of economical benefits themselves, but attitude to them from the parents' side. This means sometimes when I have a kid, so he's a teenager, and I cannot say that I'm a very rich person. And when I cannot support him from material side of the world, for example, when I can't send him to the prestigious university, I tell him that, so you see, it should be your motivation. You should do something to overcome these difficulties because it is your life. As your mother, I can give you this and that. And difficulties is not reason for suffering and for depression. It is just the point to put aims and objectives.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you for the answer.
Ma'am, can I connect it? Sorry, sir.
Sir, Dhanamula sir, can you please go ahead with your
Please.
question?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, madam, for a nice presentation. My question
Thank you.
is how this learned helplessness will influence the single parenthood system,
Yes.
and what will be the relationship if it disturbs, and what will be the burden of the single parents.
Single parents. Okay, I
Yeah.
see. So it depends on the level of psychological development of a parent. Now we can see that I can speak about Russia, situation in Russia. When I was writing my dissertation, I met a lot of mothers who stayed with their children alone. So they were single parents. experience. But it wasn't connected with learned helplessness at all, because when a mother felt enough strength to overcome difficulties, she gives such example to her kid. And consequently, when mother was very depressive and told her kid that I was left by your father, I am alone, I can't do nothing with my life, I am a poor woman, so her child is taught to be helpless. It depends on the behavior and on the ideas which parents, one or both, or grandparents demonstrate to kid. That is why it is called learned helplessness. Someone teaches kids to be helpless. So if even my mother is alone, but she is a very strong and self-determined woman, I have no chances to become helpless, because she teaches me to be strong, to overcome difficulties, to believe in success, and to take the support from the whole life. I won't be helpless in this way.
Thank, thank you, madam.
Yes. Saluja, you can go ahead with your question next.
Thank you, ma'am, for the session. It was wonderful experience for all of us. My question is regarding somatic diseases. What do you suggest to parents? Because if they don't support properly to the child, they can also have guilt. Like my child is disabled, I'm not able to help properly, or maybe the child can have emotional setback also, say I'm not getting the proper support. So what do you suggest to the parent, how they can overcome the guilt of not supporting properly?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The state and the sense of guilt is one of the more difficult in overcoming from the position of any psychotherapist, because guilt is something which is being developed on our dreams and our hopes from life. And when our children are suffering from any restrictions or lacks or physical diseases and injuries, we meet guilt. And guilt is a feeling which means when I do this or that, I can lose important relations in my life. For example, the first experiences of guilt children usually obtain when they are 4 or 5 years old, when they are punished for their activities. If you will be do like this or that, nobody will be your friend, nobody will love you. And that is why parents feel guilt when they are very emotional to their own mistakes, when they cannot control their life and life of their children. And I would advise to work with the topic of guilt with these parents. First of all, I would ask them to make 2 lists of different circumstances which they can influence or cannot influence. So, for example, I can influence my emotional state and my attitude to my kids. But in this period of life, I cannot influence the social and economical situation in my family. So this is a controlled situation, this is uncontrolled situation. And I can accept, I should accept that I cannot control everything in my life, and I even cannot control my children. So, you know that guilt is a sense which usually is a characteristic of our narcissistic side. So all narcissist people suffer from very high level of guilt, and all narcissist people think that they are too powerful, and they all the situation in the whole world is can be controlled by them. When we understand that we are not gods, we cannot control everything in this world, the anxiety and guilt will go and will go down and become lower.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you so much for your questions. I can answer one more question, and I'm sorry, but I should go back to my students, to my clinical psychologist in Krasnoyarsk Medical University. Now we are very involved in distant learning. It is a new experience for us, but it is very interesting, and I think that thanks to pandemic, I can see all your faces and I can speak to you and answer your question. Let's be optimistic and make a lot of preventive measures against learned helplessness in our life.
Спасибо, профессор.
Спасибо, пожалуйста. So, and dear friends, if you have any more questions, you can write to me in WhatsApp, on Facebook. During our short break, I saw that some of you wrote me to become friends on Facebook. I will be very thankful to you. And I think that our international collaboration can be very effective. Yes.
Definitely, Professor. After the lockdown, we decided to invite you here for one more international conference. I would like to record that information here. And Sir Krishnan sir, would you like to ask any questions?
No, it is, I was, so engrossed in her lecture. Yeah. She kept it, very simple, but, it's very elegant because, all the difficulties, she kept it in mind. And the delivery was fantastic. And I think, it was actually packed by the first session till the break. And even now there are about 50 people are there. Yes. So it is a really fantastic, as she said, she will be sending we will share the questions, when she finds a time, she can send the reply, which we can share in the group. That would be fantastic. Спасибо. Thank you.
Пожалуйста. I'm very happy to see you, really. It's an amazing experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, Professor, thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being with us and sharing your knowledge and experience on the field and attending all the questions very patiently and given upright answer to all the participants over here. Even I had an accent problem. I think you can able to understand what I'm saying. Thank you for that. So thank you so much for all the support rendered today. And definitely we will have more collaboration and cooperation in coming days after the lockdown in person. I thank you so much from India for your support. Thank you so much. Dear participants.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. If you will have any questions, if you are interested to share the knowledge, the expertise, you can write me and we can organize another more session.
Definitely.
Nice. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Express your gratitude right now. We can unmute and then you can say your gratitude.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am.
So, warm hug from Siberia.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, please, you can unmute and then express your gratitude. Dr. Chandra, Siva, and the Soundarya. Ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you, dear colleagues.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And goodbye. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much.